this was an issue that I had quite some engagement with when I served previously on City Council. And there was actually an attempt a few years back to close some fire stations, particularly the one in Ward 3 over on here on Parkway. And I fought that, and I believe that where we are today with our fire department is good. It's sufficient, and it's relatively cost effective. So I will always work to maintain our existing fire stations. The fire station over on Stadium near Packard has been closed for many years, and it seems to have shown that it's not as necessary, which it might be desirable to open it up someday, but with a lot of the changes and the improvements in building codes, that's one of the things that we've understood over the years, that we have actually less fires and demand for our fire services. What we do have, though, is a need for medical service, and that's where I've made it very clear that we're going to keep open our existing fire stations, because it's that first responder for the heart attack that comes from our fire station that is saving lives. And these are the kind of things that I've heard from residents that I've talked to over the years, and it's something that I know is very dear to them. Again, we pay very high taxes, and our residents expect and demand that we will have a fire station and fire service providers, first-hand medics, available to treat their emergency needs.
Thank you. Mr. Ackerman will ask you the same question. What is your view on the right locations and cost-effective usage of Ann Arbor fire stations and fire department assets, including the decommissioned station number 2, which houses the Fire Prevention Bureau?
Thank you very much for the question. So many of the questions tonight have been about how do we better use the resources that we already have. So I'm grateful for that theme. When it comes to our fire department, we need to remember that fire department exists to be the insurance policy you hope to never use. You invest in a fire department and the staffing incorporated in with the understanding that should the worst ever happen, they're going to be there to respond. And while we do have fewer fires every year than the year before, there is an added benefit to them being trained medically and responding along with our police force to all of the calls that we dispatch our ambulances to. There are better ways and more efficient ways in which we can deliver that service. I had the luxury of doing a ride along with the fire department on a football Saturday, which is probably the most resource intensive 8 days of the year. And it was incredible to see the way in which our fire department, police department, and HVA, the Huron Valley Ambulance, work together to get kids to the hospital when they need to go to the hospital, from falls to overconsumption. But there are, again, more efficient ways to do it. Every time they are dispatched on one of these calls, they're taking out $500,000 to $1.6 million in equipment, when they could be taking out an SUV filled with the exact same medical equipment at a much lower risk to the taxpayer from a financial standpoint. Again, I don't think me and Mr. Kunselman disagree very much on this, but looking for ways that we can spend our tax dollars more efficiently to make sure that we deliver the same quality of product, but at lower cost to